This activity is moving toward the south and east and will eventually move into the city. So we'll talk about the timing of this and have more storm mode coverage to come.
Thank you, Rodney. Tonight, the fate of 2 Atlanta police officers is being decided. We're glad you're with us at 6:30. I'm Rick Fulbaum.
And I'm Sean Gables. This comes following the shooting death of Rashard Brooks. Right now, Officer Devin Bronson has been placed on administrative leave, and Officer Garrett Rolfe has been terminated. 27-year-old Rashard Brooks was shot dead inside a Wendy's parking lot after tussling with police over a taser. His death reignited protests in the city.
CBS 46 team coverage begins tonight with a look at the investigation. Tonight, the Fulton County District Attorney says the officer who shot and killed Rashard Brooks could face murder or felony charges.
CBS 46's Yasmina Alston live at Atlanta Police Headquarters. And Yasmina, when are we expecting that decision to come?
Well, Sean, District Attorney Paul Howard says he expects to know by the middle of the week what charges former officer Garrett Rolfe will face for the shooting death of Rashard Brooks. Of course, that shooting death has caused protests all around Atlanta, including here at Atlanta Police Headquarters earlier this afternoon. Now, the district attorney says there are really 3 charges that are relevant, the first 2 being murder and felony murder. He says the only other charge that would make sense would be a voluntary manslaughter charge. But Howard says he expects the choice to be between those first 2. In a statement, the DA's office mentions that because this is a homicide investigation, there are several technical requirements that must be met before that decision can be made.
Because what we're trying to determine is at that time whether or not the officers felt their lives were endangered, specifically Officer Rolfe, whether or not he felt that Mr. Brooks at that time presented imminent harm of death or some serious physical injury. Or the alternative is whether or not he fired the shot simply to capture him.
And the DA's office is also still working to talk to 2 other witnesses. And the district attorney says that they are having some trouble getting all of the body cam and dash cam video from that incident from Atlanta Police. Of course, this is a developing story, and we'll keep you updated. Live from Atlanta Police Headquarters, Yasmina Alston, CBS 46 News.
Yasmina, thank you. Atlanta Police offering a $10,000 reward to anyone who can identify the person who started a fire at the Wendy's on University Avenue. The fire was set last night during protest over the death of Rashard Brooks.
The Wendy's where Brooks was fatally shot has been ground zero for protesters. And today, all that's left is a burned out shell. CBS 46 team coverage continues now with more on the arson investigation. Joining us for that is Bobeth Yates. And Bobeth, at this hour, the mayor of Atlanta has not issued a curfew for tonight, right?
No, not to my knowledge. No curfew has yet to be issued. And protesters continue to gather here right in front of that Wendy's where everything went down. It's been a somber mode, though, or, when it first arrived on scene, we actually saw protesters praying. If you follow me just a bit, you can see the memorial growing of flowers. Just a moments ago, they also had a moment of silence. And if you even come a little bit more, we're actually coming right here. This is the Wendy's, or what's left of it. You can look right inside. Literally everything is gone, even the roof falling in. But, fire crews aren't just going to let this go. As you mentioned earlier, law enforcement is offering a $10,000 reward for the help to find anyone responsible for this. Now, if you take a look at your screen, you can see what law enforcement are actually saying is the people that is possibly responsible for burning down the Wendy's at Pryor and University. They've released this video also. It appears to show a second person pouring what they believe to be lighter fluid inside the building to kind of, fuel those flames. And CBS 46 also got this exclusive video that was provided by a cyber expert. It's represented to be protesters at Wendy's last night, right before the place caught on fire. But it's important to note that we have not been able to verify the source of this video, but it appears to show protesters throwing what is believed to be fireworks into the building. Now, we also did speak to those securing other businesses in the area to make sure that rioters don't burn their business down. Take a listen.
And it just so happens that most of the owners of these places are, minorities, blacks, everything. You see everything out here. So it sucks for them to be the ones that are the ones suffering, you know. They're the ones being affected and having to pay in one way or another.
Now, a $10,000 reward is being offered for anyone that can provide information about who is responsible for burning down this Wendy's. If you do have any leads, Crime Stoppers is the person you want to contact. That number is on our screen, and then we will also put it on our website. Live in Atlanta, Bobethier, CBS 46 News.
We don't know what was in the mind of the officer when somebody turns around and points a weapon at him. Is he absolutely sure that that's a non-lethal weapon?
There speaking as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Ben Carson on Fox News Sunday, weighing in on the Rayshard Brooks shooting death, saying this is not a clear-cut circumstance. Carson went on to compare the shooting to the police killing of George Floyd. He says in hindsight, this case could have been handled better.
Right now, Atlanta's police chief is out in the wake of the shooting death of Rayshard Brooks. Yesterday, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms announced that Erica Shields has resigned as chief. She'll remain on the force in an undetermined role. Former Assistant Chief Rodney Bryant is now the interim police chief. CBS 46 going in depth, revealing more about Atlanta's new interim police chief. Rodney Bryant now leading the force, and prior to this promotion, Bryant served as assistant police chief and interim corrections chief.
New tonight, we have video showing a memorial of Rayshard Brooks outside of the Wendy's where he was killed. You can see the number of balloons and flowers all laid in remembrance of the 27-year-old father of four.
Our team coverage continues now, where demonstrators have fanned out across the city for more than 44 hours. CBS 46's Ayanna Crystal has been following protesters downtown all day, and she joins us now. Ayanna.
Rick, things got intense here about 15 minutes ago. Let me tell you why. Over here on this corner, you had protesters that were out here because Rayshard Brooks was shot and killed by the Atlanta police. Then over here on this corner, you had a white man that had a microphone preaching his religious beliefs. He did just walk away a few moments ago, but they were yelling at each other, saying he was disrespecting the protesters and mocking the injustices Black people are facing right now. People are expressing their points and opinions of what is going on in our society and the police brutality. People telling me they feel like outsiders are here infiltrating but not understanding the movement. Guys, there have been protests already throughout Metro Atlanta today. Different groups are speaking out. This group here started at the Capitol and marched here to Centennial Olympic Park. And although it did rain about an hour ago, the group has thinned out. So now there's about a few dozen people here. Seems like people don't really know where to go. They want to protest, but there are so many different groups marching around throughout the city. No one really knows what's going on. So things have dispersed out here. People not liking the arguing, so they've ended up just leaving. But of course, we will continue to be your eyes on the ground out here throughout the city to let you know everything that's going on. For now, that's the latest at Centennial Olympic Park. Ayanna Crystal, CBS 46 News.
Right now from the live desk and only on CBS 46, we're hearing from the wife of Rayshard Brooks, Tamika Miller, speaking exclusively with CBS News about her late husband.
To lose him is like losing everything. I have the kids, but I don't have him. I can never get him back. My peace is gone from knowing that my husband is gone from a senseless killing, death, murder. I really want to just say murder. It was murder. That was not justified.
We will have more from this conversation coming up tonight at 9 on Peachtree TV. Right now from the live desk, Alicia Roberts, CBS 46 News.
I think you've had too much to drink to be driving. Put your hands behind your back for me. Here, put your hands behind your back. Hey, stop fighting! Stop fighting! Stop fighting!
These images tough to watch. That was the moment Rolfe tried to arrest Brooks, and there was a scuffle over the officer's tasers. As he runs away with the taser, surveillance video shows Brooks turning around, pointing the taser at the officer. The officer then fired his gun, what sounds like 3 times. Brooks later died at the hospital. And remember, we were the first station at the scene of this deadly shooting and will continue to provide the latest on this investigation. Stay connected by downloading our CBS 46 streaming app. It is free to download for Apple and Android devices.
CBS 46 is in storm mode this evening. A severe thunderstorm warning continues for South Cherokee County, including those of you in Woodstock, until 6:45 for large hail. A severe thunderstorm warning also continues for North Fulton County. This includes Alpharetta and Johns Creek until 6:45. I'll track this coming up right after the break.
Okay, local leaders calling for peace as we are just hours away from sundown. Coming up, we're going to take a look back at protests today and the message for anyone planning to demonstrate tonight.
And protesters still on the scene at the Wendy's, the center of the citywide protests last night. That restaurant, just a burned shell at this hour. Stay with us. Our team coverage continues with more on the arson suspects that police are looking for.
And coming up in sports, the PGA Tour is back, but without fans in the gallery. We'll show you who pulled away from a crowded field to get the win at the Colonial.
Enable the CBS 46 skill on your Alexa device and get local news and weather updates anytime directly from CBS 46.
Welcome back. We're taking a live look at downtown Atlanta and closely watching. Rodney has warned us that there is a storm headed our direction that includes pockets of hail and thunderstorms. Not sure if it will be the same once it reaches Atlanta, but we're certainly keeping an eye on it, and it could be impacting the crowds. They seem to have gotten smaller today, but the peaceful protest, here's a small one here as demonstrators are continuing to demand justice and police reform. Right now, the mayor of Atlanta has not issued a curfew.
Right now, a big reward is out for the person or persons who started that fire at the Wendy's restaurant last night.
CBS 46's Bobeth Yates is live on University Avenue with more on the arson investigation. Bobeth, good evening.
Good evening, Sean. Now, protesters continue to gather here, and even though there's still a large crowd, as you just mentioned, law enforcement is investigating. They may not have been able to stop this place from burning down, but they say they're not going to let the person responsible get away, and they've already offered a $10,000 reward for anyone that can provide information about who is responsible. Now take a look at your screen. Law enforcement wants help finding this person they say may be responsible for setting the fire to the Wendy's on Pryor Street and University. They've also released this video. It appears to show a second person pouring what they believe to be lighter fluid inside the building to grow those flames. CBS 46 also got exclusive video provided by a cyber expert. It represents protesters at the Wendy's last night before the place caught on fire. But it's important to note that we were not able to verify the source of this video, but it appears to show fireworks being thrown in the building. And we did get an opportunity to talk to some of the protesters around here. And really, honestly, none of them seem to be sorry about this blaze. But again, law enforcement is looking for those responsible for this, and they're offering a $10,000 reward.
All right, we are in storm mode here at CBS 46. We had 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that were in effect for both Cherokee and Fulton counties. It is 6:46. Those warnings expired at 6:45. So we still have a pretty strong storm that's moving toward the south and southeast, but neither of these storms have severe thunderstorm warnings anymore. So let's zoom in here and get into Cherokee County. If you are watching right now in Canton, the worst is over for you. As we go a little bit further to the south, still seeing a little core there, that purple, that magenta that you see just east of Woodstock. That's a pretty strong part of this storm. So Woodstock, you're still in the thick of it, but give it about 15 minutes and the worst will move away from you as well. As we go into North Fulton County, again, your warning has also expired, but still looking at some very heavy rain in addition to some lightning and some pockets of hail, as I mentioned before. I want to slice this storm to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about when I say it's strong. Look at the heights of these storms, first of all. The taller the storm, the stronger it is. And as you can see, we're looking at storm heights here about 30,000 feet. At times, these have gone up to 40, 50,000 feet. And you can still see a little bit of a hail core there just north and west of Ackworth. So for those of you in Cobb County, haven't really talked about you a lot, but the storms are moving in your direction as well. And even if we don't have a severe thunderstorm, you can still expect some very heavy rain, some lightning, and some hail for those of you in Cobb County. That includes those of you in Ackworth, Kennesaw, Marietta, as all of this continues to move toward the south and east. So as we track it for you, at 7:02, this storm will be in Sandy Springs. 7:10, Marietta, you will be on deck for the strongest part of this storm. As we head towards 7:31, Smyrna, for those of you in southeast Cobb County, and Powder Springs at 7:37. The worst of this storm is moving toward the south and east. Right now in Atlanta, we do have a shower that just popped up here. This is just east of downtown Atlanta, just east of the connector, really more over Decatur. That's also moving toward the south and east. So for those of you who typically have to take 285 or I-20 in DeKalb County, especially around Gresham Park, you'll see that shower, but that's not nearly as strong as some of the other stuff that we have seen. But as you can see, all of this stuff will eventually move into Atlanta. Whether it's severe or not, it's still going to move toward the south and east. So if you're watching in Atlanta right now, or Clayton County or Douglas County, you're good to go through at least 7:30, but after 7:30, this activity will start to impact you, and of course, we'll be here tracking it for you. So that's exactly what you'll see here in your timeline. A lot of the storms are being caused by daytime heating, so once we get to sunset, the storms will start to diminish. So 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, we'll continue to see showers and thunderstorms, but after 9 o'clock, it will be dry in all of metro Atlanta. And then we'll do this all over again on Monday. In the morning, you'll be good to go. So if you do have to get to work in the morning, it will be dry. But after lunchtime, we will see more showers and storms redevelop, and that will continue through sunset on Monday as well. Not only will this happen on Monday, but really for the rest of the week, we have a little upper level low that's north of Georgia, and that's helping to produce these showers and storms. That's going to sit over the southeastern U.S. for the entire week, which is kind of unusual. But as a result of that, we'll have at least a slight chance of rain each and every day next week. That'll keep the temperatures down, though. Instead of the upper 80s, we'll see the upper 70s and lower 80s. And even though we have storms now, it looks like next weekend is looking much better with mostly sunny skies and highs in the upper 80s.
Now CBS 46 Sports with Fred Khalil.
The PGA Tour just wrapped up its first weekend back from its coronavirus hiatus, and we saw it right here on CBS 46. The final round of the Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth. The Old Colonial, Daniel Berger and Colin Morikawa go to a playoff. Berger saves par with a chip off the green and then a short par putt, but then Morikawa cannot get his par putt to go, and Berger edges out a crowded field at the top of the leaderboard to get the win at the Colonial. Well, Saturday, UGA football players took some time to exercise their civic duty. The Dogs went to their local election office in Athens and registered to vote. On Friday, the NCAA announced it's canceling all athletic activities on Election Day 2020. That's November 3rd, so its athletes can get out and vote. While the Dogs were signing up to vote, the Clemson football Tigers were leading a peaceful protest in support of racial equality. Tigers quarterback and Cartersville product Trevor Lawrence was the one of the players who organized the gathering. The team and hundreds of other people gathered outside Bowman Field and marched for 2 miles.
All right, thank you, Fred. Atlanta's protests, just part of the demonstrations around the globe. There is a big march underway. Up next, details on the march on Georgia set to happen right here in Atlanta. You're watching CBS 46 News at 6:30. We'll be right back.
Our storm mode coverage continues right here on CBS 46 as we continue to track some pretty strong storms that are now moving into Cobb County. Particularly, look at this little purple that just popped up and now it's gone away, but still a strong storm that's moving toward Acworth. All of this will eventually filter down toward Kennesaw and Marietta. So if you're watching in Cobb County, you've had storms already today. It will pick back up for you over the next 30 minutes. Also watching this cell that is now starting to get stronger. This is in Atlanta, just east of the connector right now, moving toward the south and east. So for those of you in Decatur and Gresham Park, that's going to impact you here over the next 30 minutes. And we'll keep tracking these and have more storm mode coverage throughout the evening.
All right, Rodney, thank you. And the threat of rain may be having an impact on the turnout for protesters tonight. Our reporter on the ground, Ayana Crystal, Centennial Olympic Park on the right-hand side of the screen there, says that some of the protesters have begun to scatter and go in different directions. On the left-hand side of the screen, that is the scene of the Wendy's restaurant on University that was burned to the ground after the death of Rayshard Brooks in the parking lot there Friday night. It's a story, of course, that we continue to follow, Sean.
36 people were arrested, according to Atlanta Police Department last night. The aftermath, as you can see from that picture on the left side of that Wendy's, is major destruction of businesses in Southwest Atlanta. The question now is, will those protests continue? with the rain and no curfew in Atlanta. We are closely monitoring this. We have reporters scattered throughout the field, including CBS 46's Bobeth Yates. You have been working really hard, Bobeth, regarding the investigation into the arson suspect. We'll get more of that and make sure it's posted on our CBS 46 streaming app.
Yes, we will. And speaking of that investigation, Sean, there is a $10,000 reward that is being offered for any information on who set that fire.
Happening tomorrow is the March on Georgia, hosted by the Georgia NAACP. The peaceful march will have Atlanta Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce delivering a speech. The march is expected to start at 9 a.m. at the Richard B. Russell Federal Building before ending at the Georgia State Capitol.
Also tomorrow, state lawmakers head back to work after a 3-month break due to coronavirus. They only have a few days left on the legislative calendar as well, and they've got to work fast to address 2 major items. One is a budget, and the second is a hate crimes bill. Georgia, one of only 4 states that does not have a hate crimes bill on the books. After weeks of civil unrest, state legislators are under pressure now to get a bill passed. The House passed a bill last year, actually. It's now in the Senate's hands for debate.
Remember, you can stay up to date with the latest news by downloading our free CBS 46 streaming app. And something else you'll get on there is weather updates sent directly to your smartphone. Rodney, that rain it's pockets of it has been really nasty, and then there's some is just sprinkles.
Yeah, you're right. It just depends on where you are, Sean, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. It's kind of interesting because if you're in downtown Atlanta, it's completely dry west of the connector, but there's a pretty strong little shower that's just developed just east of the connector. So that's something that we'll continue to watch for you.
Okay. You're welcome.
There's nothing now until 11 unless we break in.
9 o'clock.
Oh, there's a 9.
But double check. I mean, I would assume. I mean, there's nothing happening. Yeah, there's a 9, but there's not. I don't know if there's nothing else happening. I would ask first. I'm just looking at those protests. They're not.